When a section of US 36 collapsed, that was big news and a big inconvenience for Colorado. A very quiet settlement agreement required the state to say it's all good, and the companies involved can keep working on state projects. The Front Range has air quality you can chew. Tomorrow will be even more miserable, and bad air can lead to lifelong problems. Struggling with the legacy and the future of a changing neighborhood.
How would it feel when you see the home in which you grew up no longer there?
And Olympians in Colorado needed something big to be more competitive. They got it. We'll go there on Next at Night. Remember when a section of US 36 just collapsed? That was not great for drivers. But if you ask the state about it today, they're required to tell you, yeah, it's all good. Part of a big cash settlement with the companies involved. $14 million. Like it never even happened. Like 2 years ago, part of US 36 near Church Ranch Boulevard, Westminster, did not collapse like a house of cards. Our Marshall Zellinger found the settlement with the companies responsible for the design and construction suggests that they could get hired by CDOT again.
It's still standing. US 36 at Church Ranch looks a lot better today than this time 2 years ago, when the highway collapsed. No one was hurt, and CDOT figured out a way to get 2 lanes in each direction while the highway was rebuilt with foam. Strong foam. Trust me.
And it holds at least 150 pounds.
I tested it. It cost $17.5 million to rebuild the highway, $14 million for design, construction, and emergency response, $3.5 million to build it fast. CDOT finally got paid back, mostly. The 3 design and engineering companies involved are paying CDOT a total of $14 million. And what does the $14 million get you? This statement from anyone asking about the settlement. Cue the PR music. CDOT and the other 3 companies are pleased that the matter has been resolved without the need for litigation and look forward to future opportunities to work together. Yeah, the companies that took responsibility for a collapsed highway may and are working with CDOT again. Kleinfelder promotes its work with the I-70 bridge replacement over Havana near I-225. HDR was part of the just-opened westbound I-70 express lanes in the mountains, and HDR is also part of the potential Front Range rail line being considered for Colorado.
There's a report about what happened that probably isn't as glowing as the CDOT statement about getting paid back. The report is supposed to detail what caused the highway to collapse. I have asked for that report multiple times in the last 2 years, and I've been denied because it was deemed confidential. And now that the settlement is being paid, a public version is being approved, and we'll see it soon. Perhaps we have to request it, similar to a settlement agreement.
So last night, Marshall, you were here telling me about a police use of force settlement that only became public because you knew right where to ask to get it out. Now this agreement, this game of like, catch us if you can, and then we'll be transparent.
I'm told that when the final report was going to be done, it was all going to be put out, but my high school friend and Denver Post reporter John Murray put in an open records request. He got the settlement agreement, we got the settlement agreement, and if you know what you're asking for, you'll be able to see the money, in this case, coming in. Yesterday, it was money going out.
We're going to start introducing ourselves to government officials that way. Hi, great to see you again. Any new settlements to tell us about? That's how we'll do it. Thank you, Marshall. Amtrak's California Zephyr service is no longer stuck in the mud. The trains have started moving again between Denver and Grand Junction. California Zephyr line had been shut down for days because of the mudslide cleanup in Glenwood Canyon. Amtrak says there is going to be limited seating availability on the trains for a few days because the priority is rebooking passengers who have been stuck. I-70, the interstate, still closed both directions through the canyon with no estimated time on when it might reopen to drivers. Denver's rising crime rate is putting pressure on political leaders to do something, do anything, and tonight's shooting was right on their doorsteps. 3 men shot tonight between the Colorado State Capitol and Denver City Hall. All of them were taken from that Civic Center Park area to the hospital. Shooting was around 8:30 at Colfax and Broadway. Denver police aren't saying much about whether they're looking for suspects, how the 3 people shot are doing, or if they've made any arrests. You can actually taste our poor air quality right now, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. With the way that this has become part of our summers in recent years, it's hard to remember a time when we weren't breathing in this nastiness. Obviously, it's a really bad situation for people with pre-existing medical conditions. Even for people who are otherwise healthy, the bad air it weighs you down. So what are the long-term impacts of dealing with this almost every summer?
And over long periods of time, when you're talking about days and weeks with these particulates floating around, it can increase an otherwise healthy person's risk of maybe getting lung disease when they're older.
That is Dr. Anthony Gerber, pulmonologist at National Jewish, also serves on Colorado's Air Quality Control Commission. He says people who grow up in areas with bad air quality are more likely to potentially develop lung disease later in life. So cycling, that's a pretty weather-specific activity, I would say. Team USA cyclists who trained for the Olympics in Colorado Springs know that fact well. So they invested in a really big tent roof. Here's Matt Renew.
Given its size, the dome over the velodrome in Colorado Springs might not seem like much of a secret.
Putting the dome over the velodrome has allowed us to train whenever we want.
But for Team USA cycling athletes like Jennifer Valente, it's the secret to their success.
I think the whole team is going with very high expectations in multiple events.
At the Olympics in Tokyo, U.S. cycling is expected to medal in several events.
All the cycling disciplines in Tokyo have pretty high expectations.
And this inflatable, pressurized dome put up in 2015 is a big reason why.
Previously, we could only train part of the year.
Covering a track that used to be outdoors in the Colorado Rockies, this dome lets athletes keep training when the weather's bad, during the winter when it's snowing, or in the summer when it's raining.
The dome over the velodrome allows us to train through the entire winter, but also once we get into the spring and summer when it's raining in the afternoon to still be able to get track workouts in.
While keeping Jennifer and Team USA on track for Olympic gold.
It is the place to be, Olympic City, USA.
So half the $2 million dome project was paid for with grant money. There's also talk of making it permanent, which would allow for more renovations inside. So you know that person who gets so excited for Christmas they start the next year's countdown every December 26th? That's kind of how our sports guy Scotty Gange is excited about everything. The Olympics may be winding down, but I promise you, Scotty Gange is still very excited about the Olympics.
Okay, so I have enjoyed these Olympics so incredibly much, and I'm worried that you haven't. And so for that reason, I'm going to share some of the greatest moments that you probably missed. Now, American Ryan Crouser was introduced to shot put as a kid by his grandfather, Larry. A day before Ryan flew out to Tokyo, Larry passed away. But Ryan, with incredible physical power and even stronger passion, set a new Olympic record, won gold, and then sent a wonderful, simple message to his late grandfather. Not I did it, we did it. Brazilian surfer Italo Ferreira grew up in a small town in northeast Brazil. His father would roam the beaches and buy the catch from local fishermen and sell them to restaurants. His skinny 8-year-old son wanted badly to go out and learn how to surf. So his dad gave him a foam lid from one of the boxes he'd carry his fish in, and 2 decades later, that kid won the first ever surfing gold medal in Olympics history. I'm Scotty Gange. I've been so very excited about the Olympics, and happily for good reason.
Dude's just pure joy. Hey, a big thank you to everyone who is supporting Next weekly tradition, our Word of Thanks micro-giving campaigns. If you're not familiar, we pool a bunch of $5 donations from Coloradans across the state to benefit one nonprofit each week. We've raised $4.2 million for Colorado's nonprofits since last year doing this. And the idea that came from you this week was that we ought to honor Simone Biles and her rise from the foster care system to greatness for America by supporting foster families in our state. And you have raised almost $22,000 so far to recruit and train foster families through Lutheran Family Services. Our donations will help provide financial support for foster families that are dealing with crisis situations or medical problems. And our donations are also going to pay for holiday and birthday parties for kids in the foster care system. If you want to get in on this goodness, even $5 does help. Text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491. You can join me and a bunch of Next viewers all kicking in a bit to show that the kids in foster care, we believe in their greatness, their potential, and to show foster parents that we admire and support what they're doing for children in our community.
Powerful people slapped a new name on a historic neighborhood in Denver. Not everyone loved that. Now a new generation is also trying to claim the old name. Not everyone loves that either. Is it beer or is it wine?
People love sake, they just don't know anything about it yet.
Colorado law had to change to make room for it. There's always room on Next each Friday for the good news headlines of your life.
It'd been over 10 years since I had gotten some time to do something with my family.
Even on Next at Night.
Colorado's craft beer scene's legend. Western Colorado's wine country is a must next time you're in Palisade. Colorado's sake industry is, well, it's one place right now. The traditional alcohol from Japan is made out of fermented rice. It's sometimes referred to as sake wine, but it's a lot different from wine. The process to make it is similar to brewing beer. It has a higher alcohol content typically than both beer and wine. Sake caused some confusion in Colorado state law a few years ago. Colorado Sake Company on Larimer is the only sake maker in the state, and they had to push to change legislation in Colorado just so they could operate.
The legislation issue was one of the biggest ones for us. We started the brewery, leasing a space, went to go turn in our paperwork, and they said, wait, you can't do this. And so we took a step back and realized, okay, if we do need the right license, we need to figure this out. We're such in a gray area. They say we're making beer, we're selling wine, wineries can't sell beer, so you need to choose one. And so we had to create a law choosing which one we were going to be. And so we fell into that winery category.
Sake brewing is not just rare in Colorado, it's rare across the country. There are only about 15 companies in the U.S. doing it. We talked earlier about how Denver's air is just a thick, unhealthy soup right now. This round of breathing goop is coming from the wildfires in California and Oregon. It's going to be worse this weekend. There's a massive smoke plume that's over northern Utah right now, headed our way, and the state's warning that all of Colorado is going to get some of that tomorrow. We know that wildfire conditions are being worsened by climate change, which continues to exist whether or not some Americans choose to believe in it or not. Japan, host of this year's Olympic Games, is also dealing with climate impacts, though Japan has a population more inclined to believe scientific evidence. The Japan Meteorological Agency says Japan's climate has warmed nearly twice as much as climate's warmed in the U.S. Science denialism is not well rooted in Japan, so they are taking more aggressive steps to combat climate change. More robust public transportation, greener cities, a priority on reusing and recycling. We talked with meteorologist Carly Gomez from our sister station in Sacramento. We reached out to her because she used to be a meteorologist for NHK Tokyo, basically a national cable channel there. And she told us that climate change is viewed more seriously in Japan because people there tend to put more faith and trust in experts, as opposed to, say, what your uncle posts on Facebook.
And that's all we can do is trust. And that's one thing that I think the American people don't do well. We're not good at trusting, whether it's politics, whether it's scientists. We just want to find our own alternate facts to go off of sometimes. And I don't know if it's whether to make ourselves feel better or because we don't want to do anything about what's happening.
These are deeply steeped traditions. I mean, you've got Japan's Confucian deference to authority. That certainly plays a role in how scientists' warnings are viewed seriously there versus America's freedom first mentality, which of course now means the freedom to your own facts.
Finally Friday, you made it through the week, and today not bad. It was warm, 95 in Denver, triple-digit highs off to the east, but the big story is the smoke and the haze. A brief break today, but wildfire smoke, which will be heavy from western wildfires, is coming in overnight tonight and early tomorrow. And because of that, we have air quality alerts posted, and we're asking you to limit time outdoors because the air is going to be that bad. Tonight, we're tracking a few thunder showers and a little bit of rain actually making it to the ground, more wind and lightning than anything else. We've got a sunny day tomorrow, but bad air. It'll be a little bit cooler after a low of 60, our high Saturday at 88. Then we're back to the heat with some improvement in air quality, mid-90s for Sunday and Monday, and then isolated storms as we move through the middle part of next week.
Thank you so much for joining us for Next at Night. This is our last night where we air after Olympics coverage. It's back to our normal time slot, 6 p.m. weeknights, where Next has aired for the last 5 years. That's a lot of Fridays, 257 of them to be exact, each one featuring good news from Coloradans' lives as the headlines on your TV. For the 258th edition of your Friday Good News, we head to Confluence Park.
Good news is I'm in shape, fitter than ever, going to wedding tomorrow.
I'm from Cleveland originally, grew up there my whole life, so, you know, getting a new change of scenery, coming out here to Denver, so I'm excited.
My good news is that I'm traveling again. I'm actually on a cross-country train trip. So this is my great news, is that I was blessed enough to have a little vacation. It'd been over 10 years since I had gotten some time to do something with my family.
Because I think this is the first time I've ever really taken like my physical fitness seriously.
To new adventures, you know, this is a big part of my life, so I'm excited. I got a couple boys out here, and just, you know, growing up with all them and starting this new chapter in our lives is going to be great, so I'm excited.
To explore the world again, which I totally took for granted before COVID. So I'm trying to bank on that again and be really grateful for it. They've been going on trips without me for the longest, and it's not because I wasn't invited. I just couldn't. Work just had me just like that, you know. So tomorrow isn't promised. Life is too short.
Perhaps the people and the businesses laying claim to the name of 5 Points in Denver think that they're embracing history.
I feel as though part of me has been erased. You know, this is that invisible sociological eraser. We are erasing the black footprint of history.
A changing neighborhood highlights the complexity of Denver, past, present, and future. Next.
Five Points is growing. Talk to people connected to that historically black neighborhood in Denver, and they'll tell you the growth is not necessarily a good thing. 5 Points is growing, as in there are more places in the city that find it to their benefit to claim that they are part of 5 Points. Our Anusha Roy and photojournalist Mike Grady take us inside a complicated conversation about culture and neighborhood lines.
All right, family, y'all give me 2 seconds.
Community is more than a word.
Family, give us about like 25 to 30 minutes.
It's taking care of each other.
Thank you.
And having difficult conversations.
Let me see.
Like the ones happening at the Welton Street Cafe at the heart of 5 Points, where there is some honest talk about black history and how to preserve it.
My blood, sweat, and tears goes into this neighborhood.
It's that heartbeat.
Okay, what color, baby?
Fatima Dickerson, who helps run the cafe, says is slowing down to the point of vanishing.
The black community wants to make sure we still have a place in 5 Points. You know what I'm saying? We still want to make sure we have a place along the Welton corridor.
Fatima says there are literally signs the history of 5 Points is being diluted as businesses further away from the main corridor take on the 5 Points name.
It's almost like there's an erasure, a removal of the actual people, because even though it's including the name, like, who are the representatives?
I took a trip on the train.
Tonight, you are going to experience the sounds of 5 Points.
It's a conversation Pernell Steen, a local musician, has been having for years. The kind of music he plays is the music he heard growing up along the Welton Street corridor.
Cultural history of my ancestors, that's the story that we are telling through jazz.
5 Points became a place of solidarity for the black community through the years.
We had barber shops, beauty shops, as I said, record stores. We had all of the infrastructural businesses to be self-contained. It was a place of camaraderie, fun.
A place musicians would come from across the country to visit.
And to see especially brown-skinned entertainers, wow.
Now Steen says the name is wandering further from the heart of this historically black neighborhood, with new developments, new money, and new faces. This is where things get complicated. Technically, the 5 Points neighborhood is much larger than the Welton Street corridor. The city map shows it bordering Downing Street, following 20th Street, including Coors Field, and up the South Platte River.
So we're on the corner of Brighton Boulevard and 35th in the heart of the Art District, and also in 5 Points.
It's why Tracy Wheel, the executive director of the Rhino Art District, said they put up signs like this throughout the neighborhood.
You know, we're not here to usurp a name. We're here to, you know, create and respect for those neighborhoods. There's people that think that around Welton Street that's really 5 points, and there's people that also think that the entire map that the city of Denver has out there that kind of defines all the neighborhoods is 5 points. So it just depends on who you talk to, frankly.
Odell Brewery also changed their name from Rhino Brew House on Larimer Street to the 5 Points Brew House. They said no to an interview, but did tell us they did not do this for the marketing, but to honor the neighborhood. After doing their research and talking to community organizations, the brewery also said they trained their staff about the history.
I get the part of inclusion. Like, we want to include it because even being a part of the neighborhood association, like, our boundaries are more than just the corridor. So I get that piece.
We started this series to bring intentionality back to jazz in the 5 Points neighborhood.
To try and preserve 5 Points history, people like Gertie Harris with Fireside at 5.
I am going to bring up the band now.
Worked with Steen to put on a jazz festival at Tracks on 35th and Walnut.
I think the biggest thing for us is we wanted to book artists that really embody and champion that Harlem of the West culture in modern day Mile High. We've compiled QR codes where people can learn about the different bars that used to be open on Welton Street and hear about nonprofit organizations like Welton Street Renaissance Project.
Mr. Turner, we'll be right with you. He came in yesterday, had a catfish sandwich with no tartar sauce.
But on Welton Street, Fatima is raising the question,
doing well.
Who are people learning this history from?
When people are trying to make claim to a name or a place, when you're not a part of the story, you're telling the story from observation and not through lived experiences. I'm here every day.
Ultimately, the community seems to want to take care of the history behind their name.
5 Points is about the people. 5 Points is about connection.
But it might mean more tough conversations.
Let's find a way to work together.
And collaboration.
Welton Street Cafe.
For next.
You want them seasoned or regular?
I'm Anusha Roy.
Important conversation. Go to 5 Points, spend some money, get the catfish sandwich. Your feedback next. Feedback tonight comes from viewers on Instagram. Jeffrey Siebert writes, "Go away, commie." It's pretty self-explanatory. Robert Carnasino says, "Can't wait for this show to be canceled." Great news, Robert. Starting Monday, Next is back at its normal time, weeknights at 6 p.m. on 9 News. Would invite you to join us. Or not. Joe Narachi might be there. He says, "Don't always agree with everything that you do, but thanks for trying to give the news a degree of validity." Thank you to everybody who's joined us during the Olympics over the last 2 weeks for Next at Night, for Team USA, and for Liberia.